Have you ever heard of a mystery so profound it brought an entire age of empires to its knees? Imagine powerful civilizations, rich in gold, art, and knowledge, suddenly crumbling into dust. This isn't a fantasy epic. It's a real historical event known as the Late Bronze Age collapse. And at the heart of this cataclysm is one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries: the Sea Peoples. Around 1200 BCE, the ancient world was a thriving network of interconnected empires. The mighty Hittites controlled Anatolia. The Mycenaeans dominated Greece with their palace fortresses, and the new kingdom of Egypt stood as a beacon of power and culture. Trade routes crisscrossed the Mediterranean, carrying copper, tin, grain, and luxury goods. It was a golden age of international relations, a complex and prosperous world. But then everything changed. In just a few decades, this entire world order was wiped off the map. Cities were burned, palaces were abandoned, and entire writing systems disappeared. What could cause such a widespread and sudden collapse? Ancient texts give us a chilling name: the Sea Peoples. Egyptian inscriptions from the reigns of pharaohs like Ramesses II, Merneptah, and Ramesses III describe a terrifying confederation of invaders arriving from the sea. The inscriptions at Medinet Habu, Ramesses III's mortuary temple, are our most detailed source. They depict epic land and sea battles against a coalition of enemies. The texts say the foreign countries made a conspiracy in their islands. No land could stand before their arms, from Hatti, Kode, Carchemish, Arzawa, and Alasia on, being cut off at one time. These weren't just random pirates. They were a migratory force, a wave of displaced people moving with their families, fighting for new lands to call home. The Egyptians described these invaders as a coalition of different groups. Names like the Peliset, Jeker, Sheridan, Laka, and Ekwesh appear in the inscriptions. These names are clues, tantalizing breadcrumbs for historians trying to solve this mystery. The Peliset are widely believed to be the Philistines, who later settled on the coast of Canaan and became famous adversaries of the Israelites in the Bible. The Laka are often associated with the later region of Lycia in southwestern Anatolia. The Sheridan are particularly interesting. They appear earlier as mercenaries in the Egyptian army, sometimes fighting for the pharaoh and other times against him. This suggests a complex relationship, not just one of pure antagonism, but where did they all come from? This is the million-dollar question. Scholars have proposed theories for decades, but there's no definitive answer. One popular theory points to the Aegean region, suggesting the Sea Peoples included disenfranchised Mycenaean Greeks, perhaps fleeing the internal collapse of their own palace states. Archaeological evidence shows widespread destruction in Greece around this time, so it's plausible that displaced warriors and their families took to the seas. Another theory looks towards western Anatolia. The names mentioned in Egyptian texts, like the Laka, seem to fit geographically. Perhaps environmental factors like drought or famine, which we know were occurring at the time, pushed these Anatolian groups to migrate south and east in a desperate search for survival. The collapse of the Hittite Empire, their powerful neighbor, might have created a power vacuum that allowed these groups to mobilize. A third, more provocative theory suggests origins further west in the central Mediterranean, places like Sicily or Sardinia. The distinctive horned helmets and round shields worn by some of the Sea Peoples in Egyptian reliefs bear a striking resemblance to warrior figurines found on these islands. Could these have been Western Mediterranean seafarers, pushed eastward by their own local pressures? The truth is, the Sea Peoples were likely not a single, unified group. They were probably a loose confederation of various peoples from across the Mediterranean, all uprooted by a perfect storm of climate change, famine, and political instability, who joined forces as they moved. The impact of their invasions was nothing short of world-changing. The mighty Hittite Empire, a superpower for centuries, vanished completely. Its capital, Hattusa, was burned and abandoned. In the Aegean, the Mycenaean palace culture collapsed, leading Greece into a dark age where writing itself was forgotten for hundreds of years. Great trading cities along the Levanten coast, like Ugarit, were violently destroyed. An excavated kill at Ugarit contained a final, desperate letter from its king, pleading for help from a neighboring ruler as the enemy's ships approached. The letter was never sent. The city was burned to the ground. Only Egypt managed to survive, but it was a Pyrrhic victory. Pharaoh Ramesses III successfully repelled the invaders in 2 major campaigns, but the cost was enormous. The wars exhausted Egypt's treasury and military. After the conflict, Egypt's new kingdom entered a long period of decline, its influence in the wider region forever diminished. The old world was gone. The intricate web of trade that defined the Bronze Age was severed. Access to tin, a crucial component of bronze, became difficult, forcing civilizations to innovate. And this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Out of the ashes of the Bronze Age, a new era was born, the Iron Age. With the old supply chains broken, people turned to a more abundant and readily available metal, iron. Learning to smelt iron was technologically more difficult than working with bronze, but once mastered, it democratized warfare and agriculture. Iron tools were stronger, and iron weapons were available to more people, not just the wealthy elite. The political landscape was also reshaped. In the power vacuum left by the fallen empires, smaller, more localized kingdoms and city-states emerged, like the Phoenician city-states, the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, and the Philistine Pentapolis. The world of the Iron Age, which would eventually give rise to classical Greece and Rome, was built directly on the ruins left by the Sea Peoples. So, while we may never know their exact origins, their legacy is undeniable. They were the mysterious catalyst that brought a glittering era to a violent end and, in doing so, cleared the stage for the next chapter of human history. The Sea Peoples remain a powerful reminder that civilization is fragile, that even the mightiest empires can fall, and that sometimes the greatest changes are brought about by nameless, faceless forces emerging from the sea. They are the ultimate historical enigma, a ghost fleet that sailed out of the mists of the past, reshaped the world, and then vanished, leaving us with nothing but questions and the echoes of a collapsed age. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries. What are your theories about the Sea Peoples? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more fascinating stories from our past, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us create more content like this for you. Until next time, stay curious.